Hey Kevin, it's me, Dr. Daniel, and this is your GIMAP video interpretation. This report was generated using stool samples that you submitted to Diagnostic Solutions they received it on June 1st of this year, 2020, and then the report was available on June 13th of this year, 2020. I do apologize in getting the interpretation to you. I was out of town and then came back to a bunch of blood chemistry interpretations that I had to get done and sent out, and I'm just now getting to this. But I did attach the report finally, and so hopefully you were able to do some comparisons. Starting off with the first section here, the bacterial pathogens. Previously, you showed Shiga-like toxin E. coli strain that was positive. It was high. We can see that that's been eradicated, so definitely positive results here, where now you can see that it's less than the detection limit, so that's really good. And of course, no other pathogens are identified. Previously, you were negative for Cryptosporidium, Entamoeba, or Giardia, or any of the viral pathogens, so that's pretty much the same. Previously, you also had some detection of Helicobacter pylori, but it's important to note that 50% of the population can carry Helicobacter. It doesn't mean that it's actually causing problems. And that's why you want to measure the virulence factor and see whether or not it's causing any kind of damage, especially things like ulcers, because this is the most common cause of ulcer. And in your case, again, it's within a normal range. It indicates presence, but nothing that's overgrowing, and then definitely nothing that's causing damage. As far as the normal bacterial flora, previously everything was in a good, healthy range. The only thing that you see here is that Akkermansia is elevated. Akkermansia is actually an organism that I would pay attention to when people are having weight loss resistance or metabolic disorders. Obviously, you don't have that problem. If anything, Akkermansia in elevated amounts can result in increased metabolic capacity. So basically a faster metabolism than normal. But it is an organism that's usually more reserved for, again, obesity, weight loss issues, and when it's low, that's when it's a concern. As far as the phyla microbiota, there is when we talk about keystone species would be the species or organisms that we absolutely know are important for the human species. And then there's a relative balance of Firmicutes to Bacteroides. So basically there's a ratio that you want to pay attention to between these organisms. Previously, your Bacteroides was low. You can see that's now normal, and your Firmicutes was normal, but it's now a little elevated. So just a little bit of an increase in the production or the growth of this organism, but the ratio is still better. Actually, it's better than what it was previously too. So this is a really good, healthy ratio. As far as opportunistic bacteria go, and again, these are bacteria that are not considered bad. They're not good. It just kind of depends on if you have any other organisms that would be causing problems. In your case, previously you had elevations in Bacillus, elevations in Enterococcus, as well as Staphylococcus aureus. So you had three organisms that were overgrowing. Now you just have two. Bacillus is actually a keystone species, so I wouldn't be too concerned with that. Enterococcus could cause problems if it continues to get overgrown, and it's just barely over the threshold, so 0.40. Certainly, as you begin to do some gut rebalancing and gut rebuilding, these should actually correct on their own. So I would say that you are safe to proceed with gut rebuilding, and there's a few things that I will be suggesting that you incorporate for that. Looking at autoimmune triggers, Prevotella. Prevotella previously was 2.23 to the 6th, and it's 9.37, so it looks like it increased just a little bit. And then Fusobacterium was 1.12 to the 7, and you're 3.66, so it also increased a bit. But these were both present previously. They're not in high amounts. They're not flagged for being abnormal, but they're just present. So nothing that I would be concerned with there. As far as fungal overgrowth or cytomegalo or Epstein-Barr virus, you were negative previously and you're negative now. Looking at your parasite survey, again, previously there was no parasites that were detected, so you can see that's all the same. There were no worms that were detected. Previously, your statocrit was elevated, and this could indicate poor fat absorption or malabsorption of fats. You can see here that it's less than the detection limit, so this is much better than it was previously. You were high before, it's now normal. Beta-glucuronidase is developed from a combination of overgrowth of bacteria. It could also be because of inflammation and immune response. Beta-glucuronidase before was 1188. Right now it's at 2761, which is just over the normal limit. So this does indicate that there is still definitely some inflammation. Again, we were throwing some things in your digestive system that are not necessarily healing. So I would expect this to also improve, although I would say that we still want to be conscious of the amount of gluten that you're getting exposed to. And I say that because gluten certainly, contributes to Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, celiac disease. Anti-gliadin IgA is the protein that kind of gives an indication of that. Previously, you're at 76; it's at 122. It's still less than the normal limit, but gluten in your case could definitely be reactive and could be contributing to inflammation. So we just want to make sure we're doing a good job there. You also have a little bit more blood, and I know that's something that you see. Before you were at 2, right now you're at 10. I would contribute that to some of the inflammation that we're seeing from the beta-glucuronidase. To me, this is just, again, we got to work on healing your gut, soothing the gut, and taking some compounds to reduce inflammation, taking some compounds to heal the tight junctions, and to improve cell-to-cell communication. Your secretory IgA was 327 previously. Right now it's 193, so it's definitely still low. Again, this is all consistent with needing to rebuild your gut. This is more about intestinal health, and the first part was to get rid of the bad stuff. Second part is to build your health up. The other thing here is your calprotectin. Calprotectin was at 499, which was high. It's at 750, which is still high. Again, inflammation. That's what this is really indicating. So definitely based on all this, I would say we are ready to proceed, transition into gut rebuilding. As far as there is an intestinal permeability test that tells me more specifics about your gut, but I would say that we should proceed with gut rebuilding. Like I said, continue with the diet that you're on, that you feel comfortable with. Maybe try to expand that diet. Let's take some compounds that are targeting inflammation, compounds that are known to rebuild your gut and soothe your gut lining. And then if, of course, after 30 to 45 days, if you don't see a change or improvement there, then we can consider the intestinal permeability test, which would actually help me to, it's not enough to know about leaky gut. You have to know whether you're transcellular or paracellular. And this would be an indication of whether or not inflammation is seeping into your bloodstream. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of LPS, lipopolysaccharide, or endotoxemia, but getting very specific on that process would be a very important thing to know on how to address leaky gut specifically. But in your case, again, let's proceed with gut rebuilding, gut rebalancing. Let's give it 30 to 45 days. Pay attention to your symptoms. I know that you've been doing better, and really across the board, it looks like from your pre and post stool sample here, you're moving into a really good place, but we got to stay the course and make sure that we heal the lining before doing any other diagnostics.